everyone, welcome to our Pulley Injury Prevention Program. I'm here today with Lucas Lasny and myself, so Pedro Costa. We are both fourth year physiotherapy students. We are currently working on our thesis, and we are trying to reach out to people in order to create impact on our favorite discipline, which is the bouldering discipline. And yeah. So in this specific topic, we will be talking about the Pulley injury. And first out, we will start with the anatomy. So the anatomy of the Pulley injury is relatively simple. It is mainly composed of two muscles, so the flexor digitorum superficialis and the flexor digitorum profundus. Both of these muscles have their origin on the ulna and the radius, but also you have to know that the superficialis also goes until the humerus. They will insert themselves on the phalanges. So as you can see, the middle and the disophalanges. So these ones are the main muscles, but also you have other muscles who act as a flexor of the forearm and etc. So as you can see on the left hand picture, you can see that the tendons of these muscles go through the A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. So these are called the annular pulleys. And this is basically like a fishing rod. As you can see in this picture, in the fishing rod, you have the eyelets. And these eyelets serve for the cable to go through them to act as a lever force. So the more eyelets you have, the more force you can create / generate. Okay? So as also mentioned, there's also some cruciform pulleys. So you have the C0, C1, C2, and C3. But these ones, let's say, are less important. So these annular pulleys, they serve for your tendon to slide, so forward, but also backwards. But also to prevent friction with bone to bone in order to prevent inflammation. So the injury mechanism is actually really simple and silly. So for example, in this off crimp, you can see there's a lot of force exerted on the A3 in the A3, so the annular pulley 3. So you can see the down force is really pushing the tendon downwards, and that creates a lot of pressure / tension on the A3. So if you're not properly warmed up, hydrated, trained, etc., you can suffer from a small or really big injury, and that injury can, as you can see in the right picture, can really, like, you can suffer from a bowstring injury. So instead of your tendon going like really close to the bone, you can suffer from a bowstring. So a really straight line, and the picture that we're going to show you after, but also it's not really pleasant. So in this video, I don't think you can hear the video, but this is a man climbing, so he really looks like an expert, and he also looks quite warmed up. And in this video, like 15 seconds in, you can hear a pop, and that's when the annular ligament really tears itself. So just try to listen for yourself.
Yeah, you might not be able to listen to it, but we're going to put the link of this video in the description, so that you can just go directly by yourself to get that call.
So here you can see he goes to the wall. He goes with the left hand. Here. Yeah. So that's the sound you would rather avoid to hear, to be honest. And yeah, it's not really pleasant for you personally, but also your sportive activities. So after the Pulley injury, it can take up to from 6 to 12 weeks before they return on full climbing. And this only depends on the level of rupture. So there is 4 grades of rupture. So the least case scenario can be grade 1, and grade 1 is only a strain of the annular ligaments. And for grade 2 and 3, this can be a partial rupture of one or multiple of them. And grade 4 is the worst case scenario. It's like you rupture one or more than, or 2 or 3 or 4 or even the 5 annular ligaments, and this you're completely out of performing any sportive activities. So, but in most cases, we have to have an active and conservative approach of this. So physical therapy, icing, education is very important, hydration. But worst case scenario, you will require surgery, and we will show you a video, a snip of it, because we don't want to get demonetized on YouTube, of course. But this is worst case scenario, just use so you can have an impression of what it is. So here you can see they're going to open the hand. So you can see here they remove the fascia. And here you can see they're opening the protective layer around the tendon. So the really white thing here, you can see is the tendon. There you go. So the tendon of the flexor digitorum superficialis. So here, as you can see, so them to repair the annular pulley, you're going to put some string on it, so they go around the tendon, and basically it's like maybe an ACL operation. The string will help the tendon heal itself more efficiently and more rapidly. But yeah, I know it's disgusting, but you have to see it. So if we continue on this.
Yeah, lucky we have a few tips to prevent this kind of injury. Of course, pulley injuries can occur at any time, even though you can be like super well wound up, follow everything we're going to tell you. It might happen, so it's not like 100% sure that it will never happen to you, but we can lower the risk of it to appear. So we're going to give you a few tips to prevent this kind of injury. Starting by warming up. Warming up is super important, especially in wintertime, in cold temperature and everything. You must be like super warmed up on your finger to prevent this kind of injury. But of course, you also need your whole body to be warmed up. So we're going to start with a whole body warm up, and we're going to mobilize all the joints for about 5 minutes. So it will allow to increase the synovial fluid production. So we advise you to perform about 10 to 20 rotation for each joint, starting from the neck down to the feet, and try to go over all the joints. So neck, shoulder, elbow, wrist, finger, all the spine, hips, knees, and ankle. So do about 10 to 20 rotation, change the direction for it, and you should be fine. Then you should move on to doing some cardio. It can be all kind of exercises, just raising up your earth rate. So here you have a few examples. For instance, jumping jacks, just stationary jogging, rope jumping, where it can be anything. Like if you want just to play basketball before climbing, just bring a basketball and play basketball with your friend. It can also be in a ludic way. The main goal is to raise up the earth rate, bring some fresh oxygen and new blood into your muscles. So try to make it last about 5 to 10 minutes. Shouldn't be too long, but long enough to set your body ready to perform climbing. And now we come to one of the most important, according to me, important part of the warm-up is the finger warm-up, especially now that we're talking about pulley injury prevention. Finger warm-up is super essential. So we would advise you to start mobilizing your finger just by doing flexion extension. You can start also passively if you feel that your fingers are really cold, so just hold them in extension, flexion, and then you can move on to active flexion and extension. You can also use all kind of tools like the small balls that you can just squeeze, or like there is this kind of Play-Doh looking like thing that you can just squeeze. It's really good thing to start warming up your finger. Then we will recommend you to do like this pretty easy exercise, which just consists of moving around the wall, grabbing different kind of holds while your feet are still on the ground. So basically, it just consists of taking different kind of hold and you move across the wall. By doing so, you can start warming up your finger by taking big jugs at first and having a really light load on your fingers. So yeah, you should do it starting with jugs and then moving on to more like small and more precise type of holds. Can be sloppers, can be crimps, can be pinches, all kind of holds. Try to keep the crimps for the last time, for the last minutes of your warming up, because they're like the most, the one that can bring you the most risks to get injured. So this is the one you want to be really well warmed up before starting on those. Also try to vary the hold inclination, so don't hesitate to take underclings, Gaston, all kind of compressive hold. Just feel free if you were like climbing, but just keep your feet on the ground. And you're going to progressively increase the load of this by just decreasing your weight bearing, sorry, I apologize, and starting slowly hanging up on those holds. And the last part of the warming up of the finger is just hanging for a few seconds. So same, choose to start by taking big jugs and just change the type of holds over time, sloppers, pinches, and end up in crimps. But be really careful on hanging on crimps. And when you're done with this warm up of the finger that should last 15 minutes, you can start climbing. But start with easy climb. The goal is to progressively increase the difficulty and do it at your own rhythm. So it should last between 20 to 40 minutes according to the people. I know that I'm really long to warm up, so it takes about 40 minutes for me. It can sometimes last longer in case of really cold days. But some people are more prone to warm up in 20 minutes. That's also a lot about how you feel like when climbing. If you feel like you're warm enough, you can increase the difficulty. Another key point of preventing pulley injuries is the hydration. You should keep hydrated in between each set of bouldering. It doesn't mean that you have to drink a liter of water between each boulder. No, the point is more like drinking regularly, small quantities. Just to let you know, if you have like a water deficit of 2% of your body weight, your total body weight, it can reduce your performance about 20%. So that's a huge gap, you know. So please just try to stay hydrated as much as possible. A good proportion, good ratio of water intake will be half liter to 1 liter per hour. So if you do like a 2-hour session, 2 liters of water should be more than enough. But still, you have to drink it. Concerning the grip that you should prefer, you should go more for open grips rather than half crimps or full crimps. The reason why is pretty simple is due to their biomechanics. As Pedro just discussed before, when you're crimping or half crimping, there is a lot of pressure and a lot of force that is applied to the pulley. However, when you have open hands, this force is like way less and then less prone to get injured. That's not an exact science, but you still reduce the risk factors. Of course, sometimes full crimping can feel like it's mandatory, you know, like sometimes you're like, I have to crimp this one. That's okay, you can do so. It's not like, it's not prohibited, you know. You can crimp, but take it as a last resort. If you cannot crimp, it is better. It can also be a bit more energy consuming to choose an open hand grip, but for that you should just train on ankles. There is a pretty cool exercise that is evidence-based. I think it has been made by Peacemaker. And they advise you to hang for 10 seconds and rest for 7. And you should repeat it over 24 times. And by doing so, you're going to build up your forearm endurance, forearm strength. And if you do this exercise just by hanging in open hands, that should help you climbing better open hands rather than crimping. I know that a lot of people can only climb by crimping. This is a kind of bad habit that you should get rid of. So yeah, prefer open grips rather than full grips.
So if you do experience pain in somewhat form, even if you warm up or if you don't have a proper education on the warming up, so as my colleague just said, so you should avoid crimping when finger pain is felt. Why? Why is that? Because when you start feeling finger pain, it's either you're tired, either you already have micro lesions on your annular pulleys, or maybe on your muscle. So you should avoid crimping because the little damage that you already did by climbing normally, like everyone feels pain, that's totally normal. If you go for a crimping, it can really lead to an even worse case scenario injury. So you should avoid that, or you should be conscious of for example, be like, okay, I feel pain. Is this muscular? Is this fatigue? Or is this damage locally? Like, do I really feel the pain here on the fingers between the joints? You should also take into account about taking longer rests. For example, instead of being a rush guy, do like 30 seconds rest. You should go for like 2 minutes, or 3 minutes rest. Go talk with a colleague, drink some water, go to the toilet, for example. So really take into account the longer rests, because this can really benefit you in a good way and avoid you from the OR room. It would really suck. You should also gradually increase the load over different climbing sessions. For example, you shouldn't be a tough guy and be like, oh yeah, I'm strong, etc. I will go straight to 8B. No, don't do that. I personally bet on myself, it's not the way to go. It's not tiring, but it's also a very high risk injury factor. So for example, you should, if you're new to climbing, you should start with the grade 3. So you go easy climbs, okay, this is easy, I feel that's easy, but I'm still tired, okay. Next session, you go to grade 4, and if you already start feeling tired at grade 4, you come back to grade 3. It's no shame. Your body is just gradually getting adapted to that capacity. Okay, so gradually increase. So start at the beginning of the session with a 3, and if you're actually performing on a normal basis on a grade 5, you can gradually increase. So grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, that's totally normal.
Yeah, that's okay to just do lower grade than what you used to be. If you used to do 7A, 7B, and you don't do it for 3 weeks, just keep on 6C maximum. You know, like you don't want to get injured. So if it's painful, take it easy.
Yeah, there you go. And also, there's another tip that me personally, I don't do it because I'm not really thinking about doing it, but my colleague does it all the time. Taping. Taping methods, he's the master of it. He will explain you this after. But taping on the local aspect, so in the local / mechanical aspect, it can increase the resistance of your annular pulleys. So it can really be a benefit, but it all depends on the preference of the person, of course. But also, last but not least, you should seek for advice from healthcare professionals, so a doctor or a physiotherapist. If you're experiencing pain, if you have any doubts, if you don't know why you're feeling this pain, even though you're doing everything correctly, you should go and check on yourself, because you better be safe than sorry. And that's what we are trained for. We are trained to help people, to advise people. So really don't hesitate to come to us and ask us, hey, Pedro, why do I feel this pain? I do all of this, but I still feel this pain, etc., etc. So keep that in mind. Next.
Yeah, so as mentioned before, you have the option of taping your finger. So we would recommend you to tape the finger, especially if you feel pain in your finger. Taping can also help about other things, like reducing the friction between the rock and your finger when you have like pretty damaged skin. That's another topic. Here we're talking about taping. It's mainly to support your pulley. So we have like 3 kinds of taping method that works pretty well. You're going to see it later in the video. We're going to show you and demonstrate properly how it's done. But just to mention it quickly, we have the ring method that looks like this one. There's also the X method, yeah, and the H method. So those 3 are pretty good. I'd say, as a personal experience, that the H method is the more effective. I also used a lot the X method, but I can see sometimes a bit of limitation in this one. So yeah, we'll see later how it's made on the second part of the video.
Okay, so yeah, there we go. As my colleague just mentioned now, we will put the taping methods at the end of the video on different sections, because we have a climbing session and / advice session at our local climbing gym, and we will demonstrate that in person. So then I will take the videos of that and include them with this,
so that you will also have a closer look to it.
Yeah. And also at the end of the video, we will put a PDF detail of everything that we said now, so you can at your house or at your gym, you can do it exactly as we advised it. So you can use it wherever you want. So this will be down in the description. So you can find us on our YouTube channel, so Club Physiotherapy. But also we have a newly fresh start Instagram page, also Club_Physiotherapy. So here we give weekly advice on on bouldering, but also in general health, because we do personally think that prevention is the best way to stay healthy and to live a longer, healthier life. So yeah, there you go. This is kind of a small meme I made. You should always reach out for prevention programs like ourselves we did, so your Pulley Injury can be jealous on a daily basis. Thank you for listening.
Alright, so we're going to see the three methods of taping, and we're going to start with the ring method. So for this method you need to grab some strap, some tape, about this width, like the length of a phalanges, and you take approximately this kind of length. And you want to apply it directly on the phalanges over here, and you're going to roll around and try to tighten up. So it has to be pretty tight, but not too much, like the blood must go through your finger. And if you look at the flexion of the phalanges, you must be able to move your phalanges normally. And when you're doing the half crimp or full crimp, it has to be like still pretty possible to do it. So yeah, this one is the ring method. It basically supports the pulley just over here. And yeah. Then we're going to see the X method. For this method, you need a band of tape a bit thinner than this one, a bit less wide. And you need quite a long one. About this length. And you're going to apply the same way just over here. Make one turn around, and then you're going to come like this to make an X, the first part of the X, around the second phalanges, the one in the middle, and then you come back to close the X this way. So same as the ring method. So same as the ring method, it needs to give support over here, and you must be able to flex this finger. Then we're going to see the last method, which is the H method. For this method, you need a really thick part of tape. So I'm going to use the full width of the tape. And for the length, you need about this length, not too much. So here, I'm going to cut it into two. I stop just before the middle. And I cut it into two also here. And I stop just before the middle. And you need to have like a H this way. So you have a H here. You want to have the middle part of the H coming in between your two phalanges. So here. And with the first part, we're going to make around the first phalanges. Up. And with the one above, going to do the same operation again, but around the middle phalanges, right here. So here it is. It has to be around those two. And you taped for the 3 finger. So ring method, X method, and H method.
What's your favorite?
My favorite is this one so far.
And why?
I think it gives more support, but it's also something that is pretty personal. You know, like try both, try one of the 3, and just adopt the one you prefer.